Hey everybody, this is Ryan and Greg with Bench Your Addiction, and today we're going to talk about goal setting and how that works and what that looks like for you and why it matters. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So for me, man, I love goals. It gets me going every day. I'm competitive by nature. If I have a date in mind, it's great for me. Right? I just came off of a bodybuilding show and I did pretty good. First in my age class, second in overall. So I'll take that.
Damn, bro. Nice job.
Just shy of getting my pro card. That's next show, right? But for me, it was setting a goal and like doing the show, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do this thing, and it felt great. And all the other mechanisms to get there have been beneficial to the rest of my life, and they play out into like my business life and my personal life too, because of like the dedication and commitment and integrity to like what my word is, and that's what goal setting means to me. So let's talk a little about what you think about goal setting.
Goals are what give you the direction, man. Like without having a destination in mind, you have absolutely no idea where you're going. Could you imagine getting in your car and saying, "I don't know where I want to go. I just want to drive." And that's what I kind of equate when people say is like when I ask them, "So, well, what's your goal in the gym or fitness?" And they say, "Well, I just want to get fit." Like it's such a generalized approach. It's such a generalized idea for you to just say I just want to get fit, and like it's not specific enough because you can't like because without the goal you have no idea if what you're doing is creating progress. You don't, like, in the same way that like if you're trying to change the way that you eat, you first need to understand how you're eating in the first place and understand like make small changes so that like, or we can go completely scientific. It's like you change one thing at a time and wait and see how your system, how your body changes, right? But when you change 500 things all at once and something changes and you're like, ooh, but not like now you can't identify what was the thing that actually provoked the most amount of change. You can't because you changed too much all at once. And so just to tie it back into this metaphor of like, you get into an Uber and they ask you where you want to go and he's like, I don't know, just go somewhere. Is the same way, like, and how, like the dumb look that the Uber driver would have in his face, just like Darren Headlights was like, what do you mean you don't know where you want to go? Like, you called an Uber, like, where are we going? uh is what I equate to. I just want to get fit. That's not enough, man. It's not specific enough because you don't know what you need to do next. You don't know if you're making progress. You might be doing something, but there is a big, 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 big difference between being busy and being productive. Right? You can be busy all you want. You can flail your like if I just take you out into the middle of the ocean, you don't know how to swim, but I throw you in the water, you can look real busy, but you're not going anywhere. You're not coming back to the boat. You're probably going down, right? And I can't just say, if you don't know how to swim in that picture, I can't just say swim harder because you don't know how to do the thing in the first place. You need to understand where you're going in order to be able to start taking actionable items that can be measured, because this is something that's been drilled into my head by several different coaches of mine, both when I was an athlete growing up and now as a professional trying to grow my business, is that what gets measured gets managed. But if you don't measure anything, you don't know if you're going backwards, forwards, left, or right. You have absolutely no idea because you have no plan. Get a plan. Get a plan in place and actually say, yes, I'm making progress. Let's keep doing this. Or no, I'm actually going backwards. This system isn't working. We need to make changes to it pronto. You need a goal to do that.
And I feel the same way, man. Like I like taking big ideas and breaking them down to manageable goals, right? And making actionable steps. And I always kind of have like a three-part system. I have short term, medium term, long term, right? And I like to put dates on things because that makes it concrete, and I like to commit to myself. And you know, I took a screenshot of something and overlaid a date on it and emailed it to myself for a year from today, just yesterday, about working on a new book, and I'm committing to that, right? So now I have a goal and date. And then I was talking to my buddy about doing a TED talk, and he was like, when? So now it's on the calendar by July 2025. I want to give a TED talk, right? Like these are big picture goals, right? Um, And you know, when it regards to fitness, I always like doing something. So before it was powerlifting, now it's bodybuilding. Next might be, I don't know, Ninja Warrior courses, right? But for me, I like having these dates and competitions and goals to get to. And like you said, it's something measurable and something actionable. And like now, after doing bodybuilding a couple of years in a row, I can look back at the previous year, look at the trends, look at my body weight, look at all these things, and see actual tangible steps that I've made through this process and where to go next. It helps me, after we built a bunch of confidence through actions, now we have goals and now we complete these goals. Then the sooner you complete your goals, and most of the time when you set a date on a goal, you end up smashing that date and getting there twice as fast. I had a client recently, and they are going to their 20-year high school reunion, I think in Labor Day weekend, right? A couple weeks, right? And her goal was to lose 20 pounds and to get, and she smashed that like a month and a half early. She was super excited. She was way ahead of it, but we set that goal. She had exact number and exact date, how we're going to get there. We broke it down. We met 3 times a week. We talked about a diet plan from day one. She was committed, and she could hit that goal tremendously fast, 6 weeks early. And that's what the kind of stuff that really matters when you have a goal in mind and you have like a really hard way to go. And to kind of play on your analogy, you could have the best crew, the best ship, the best equipment. If you don't have a destination, what are they doing? Like, what are they going to do? They're just going to sit there, right? Like, so it doesn't matter if you have all the great tools. And then people like to get, let me say, rephrase that. I've seen people have a tendency to get lost up in the like paralysis by analysis. They're like, well, I want to do this, but everything has to be perfect. All these conditions have to be perfect before I start. And for me, it's like, no, just set the goal and start, and you'll figure it out on the way. Right. Like another example is this podcast, right? We were like, let's do a podcast. And my other friend was like, well, you need an editor and you need this, you need a logo, you need all that. I was like, no, I'm going to start. And as we get to those points, we'll tackle those hurdles as we get there. Right. It's more important that we start the action and then reach the goal.
Absolutely. And one of the things that just popped in my head, and I've been kind of uh, playing around with this idea. I was listening to Andrew Huberman's podcast, one of them anyway, last week, and he was talking about um, it was along the lines of getting wins in place. But for someone who hasn't won, quote unquote, won anything in a long time, hasn't set a goal and accomplished it, the analysis by paralysis can happen. And also that negative self-talk of I've tried before. Anyone and everyone that's ever tried to do a New Year's resolution that has not followed through, that little voice in your head can get louder and louder and louder and louder, and it can keep you absolutely stuck in place, and to the point where you have these big dreams, but you never leave the bar stool. Like you're still beating on the bar as if it's like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and like, yeah, you said you're going to do that 10 years ago. So, but like one of the so it's the idea that like this idea of somebody who hasn't won in a while needs to start racking up some wins, and they need to be small wins first. I think like you were talking about it, like when you were first getting sober, like it was like your task list was get out of bed, make your bed, brush your teeth. Like it was tasks that are seemingly relatively simple to an operational human being, but when you're stuck under the bottle or pipe, like that's real hard to do that shit, man. I can
Yeah.
attest to that.
Yeah.
Drunk on my bedroom floor more times than I care to recount, and how much time wasted. But like that process is something that's extremely valuable in gaining traction and gaining momentum, the domino effect in place, right? So you set you have the big goal. That's great, right? But like I talked about this on Sunday with a friend of mine, is that I've been in the past so paralyzed by the big picture that I just end up looking at the mountain, and I never try to take the first step to climb that mountain to the top, right? And so because of like lack of self-confidence, lack of action items, lack of direction, lack of just lacking in almost every freaking area of my life. So like in order to start racking up some wins, I needed the to-do list to be extremely simple. And as I started to have a to-do list, first off, having a to-do list, like actually having something that clearly shows I accomplished tasks, because even on some of my most productive days, if I don't have a way of reflecting on it at the end of the day, then I still can feel like I accomplished little to nothing. So actually having something that I can reflect upon at the end of the day to see, oh man, I had these 6 big action items that I really needed to do today, and I managed to get 5 out of 6, or maybe I got all 6, or whatever. I look at all this work that I got done. I can feel good about that, and I can start to build the self confidence, and I can start to feed into the opposing voice in my head, and it's not the one of you've tried before in the past and you failed, so why do you think this is going to be any different? I can start to turn that knob kind of down, and I can start to ramp up that voice in my head is like, nah, man, like this, like I can do this, and this is how we're going to be able to do it. And just following that process, man, following that process to success over and over and over again, and feel good about the successes. So find what it is that you need to do in order to feel good about the successes. And for me, it's a to-do list, a tangible to-do list that I write some shit down. As I do it, as I accomplish it, I scratch it off. I scratch it off. That it's that physical feedback for me. It's that physical feedback of pen to paper. I know this from step work. Pen to paper, man, is the thing that makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something and and moving forward. So I do that same thing in regard to business tasks. I write it down. Once I'm done, scratch it off, and then at the end of the day, I can go, damn, look at that list. And then, like, I'm not always perfect, so sometimes there's still 1 or 2 or 3 task items that didn't get done by the end of the day. But you know what? It's on the list, and I know that I'm not going to forget about it. So I can go home, go to sleep. I don't have to lose my sanity over being not as productive as I might have been able to, and just come back and try to do it again all over tomorrow. And then
Yeah,
that way
that's the
give
best way to
myself
do
a
it. Yeah, and like for me, I've moved into the whiteboard, right, for work stuff, right, and I have to do the same thing, man. Crossing it out feels great, and being on top of it feels great. And when I first got sober, a lot of what kept me sober was goal setting. It was like proving to myself that I can do the things. Like, you know what I mean? I had a counselor at the time tell me to set out like 12-month goals and 18-month goals, and make them lofty and like make them realistic. I remember one of them was like getting my license, and like, it was like a 12-month goal, and I got it in like 5 months, and I was like, oh, maybe I can do things, right? And it was like get a new job
Mhm.
for twice as much money, and I got it in 8 months instead of 12 months, and I was like, oh, I can function, right? I mean, that just led for me to get loftier and loftier goals because I was able to set them. I was able to build on that confidence. I was able to have wins in my life because I had no wins in my life at that time. When I got sober, I was a mess, right? You know what I mean? Um, and now I set lofty goals like winning bodybuilding shows and writing books, and I'm on track to do all these things, right? And it's not like an overnight thing. People are like, man, you're so, how'd you learn to do this? Or man, you're so dedicated. You must be so disciplined at home. And I'm like, no, it's just routines and habits and goals. Like I set the goal, I build the mechanism around that goal, I get to that goal, I go to the next goal. It's never like, cool, I got the goal. And like I celebrate each goal. Don't forget to celebrate each win and like live in that for a moment. But then you move on, right? Like, cool, I celebrate this. What's next? Right? Don't let that, don't sit there on that win forever. Enjoy the win, move on, keep going. Like that's how we become better and better individuals, and we're able to help more and more people, right? And a lot of times you can help people around you just by being inspiring, right? People mess with me all the time, man, your transition is so inspiring. And I really appreciate it. I had a couple people reach out to me after my show who were like, okay, I'm ready to change. Like, I've seen your transformation, I'm ready to change. Right. And like, that's great. Like, I want to help people. Right. And so I sent them some recipe books and was like, let's go, figure this out. If this is what you need, here you go. If you need more help, let me know. And yeah.
Yeah, like that's really really cool, man. Like the ability to be able to inspire people by something that we've actually tangibly done, right? I know that I posted like I don't know, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. I posted up a picture with the 2 pictures on it, 2 pictures of me. One of them when I was weighing in at about a buck 40. That was probably the lightest I had gotten in my addiction. Standing at, I'm not tall, but I'm 5'10". So 140 is pretty damn skinny for 5'10",
Yeah.
and shrunken face, high, like hard cheekbones, I have an abnormally large head. So when I was that small, I looked like a watermelon on a toothpick, man. Like shout out to Drake and Josh. I love that line. But like I didn't look good, man. I didn't look good at all. And compared to when I was weighing in at about 220 pounds, and I fill my frame, I look good. I perform well. I mean, I'm sitting on a surgery right now, so I'm not performing the way that I want to perform, but I'm still performing. I'm still in a shifted focus. And like to be able to put that out there, and like I had some people going like, hey man, why you like you looked anorexic, and I was like, yeah, you're not far off, right? It's not too far off from what the reality was, man, because I was trying to starve myself in an attempt to get abs because I had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't invest in a coach, and I didn't have a 12-step program to help me stay sober. I didn't have any of that stuff, man. I was just like, I'm going to do this on my own. Like,
I can
and
figure it out. I can figure it
I
out.
can figure it out, man. I'm just gonna watch this 5 minute YouTube video, and I will be the master of weightlifting, and I will be the master of my mind. And like all of like, don't you know how many free resources are on YouTube? So why on earth would I pay for somebody to for their expertise and guidance? And like that's honestly how I operated, and how freaking lost I was, man. It was a miserable time in my life when I didn't ask for counsel from anybody. I didn't ask for help from anyone. It was a very very dark time in my life. But with that being said, is like I did want to what just popped in my head, and I think is important because it's been important for me in this stage of my life. Like right now, right this second, since I've had to put my powerlifting on hold, is the ability to be flexible with your goal. Because like just recently for me, like obviously, like I said, I was powerlifting, doing strongman competitions, and like I really wanted to do a strongman competition in October. There's one out in Reading that I really wanted to participate in this year. I'm not going to be physically fit enough to be able to handle that strongman competition because I have surgery on September 1st for my hernia, and like Lord only knows how long it's going to take for me to recover. And I
6 weeks.
initially I initially was really I felt lost for maybe 2 or 3 days as I really kind of digested the fact that I'm gonna have to put powerlifting on hold because like that heavy lifting, like there's no sense for me. There's no other greater source of serenity than being under a very heavy barbell, and the only thing that matters in that moment is you stand up with it or you get crushed by it. And because all else of the world, everything else in the world fades away in that moment. Nothing else matters. The only thing that matters is me and that barbell.
Yeah, to quote Henry Rollins, the iron never lies.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. And so, but when I realized that I had to put that on hold for a little while, I was disgruntled because I was like, I'm gonna go crazy. That's part of my mental health is to lift like that. I despised, or thought I did anyway, cardio because I didn't perceive any challenge in it, and that's like what I'm starting to understand is that, or like re-understand or remember, I guess in a way, is that um, I did swimming for 18 years. Swimming is a cardiovascular conditioned sport, period, and it is also arguably one of the most difficult sports out there when you really commit yourself to it. And it's cardio. And so what I've been doing is Stairmaster treadmill or the air bike, the assault bike or the murder bike, as I've had some of my clients call it, and committed myself to like how high can I get my heart rate with it while still nasal breathing, like, and really trying to push the envelope on that, like really trying to force my mouth to stay shut. You like almost to the point I haven't done this. I thought about it, like putting duct tape on my mouth and fucking going for a run. But
Can you, when
um,
you do that, can you videotape it? Because that'd be a great Instagram reel.
I can do that. I'll do that. I'll do that just for you.
We'll go fucking
Or
hashtag
like trying
duct
to,
tape challenge. Yeah, man.
yeah, or trying to push my heart rate up to the 160s and even into the 170s a little bit.
Nice.
And like that, I've found it is not necessarily the same thing as the one time exertion, 3 or 4 times exertion against a heavy barbell, but it is a challenge. And in that way, I've been able to attach a level of excitement to the cardio again. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I saw like in that way I've been able to realize that I was forced into changing, and I didn't want to suffer through that change. I realized what I was looking for, a challenge, and I was able to find that challenge through a different medium. And that's just what's going to have to happen now. And as I get back into it after the surgery and I'm back on my feet and recovering. So
So flexible
being
to your
able,
goals, man.
yeah, being able to adjust them.
That's awesome. Yeah, life happens too, man. I was a competitive powerlifter and I had a back injury. Same thing. I had to adjust my goals. I was like, all right, cool. We're not powerlifting. What are we doing? That's where bodybuilding came in. I was like, we can do bodybuilding. Let's do that, right? You know what I mean? Adjust your goals. And quick shout out. I want to touch on the fact that you said coaching, man. Like, if you are trying to do something seriously, no matter what it is, get a coach. You're not only going to save yourself a ton of time and a ton of headache. You're going to basically you're paying for them who've already learned all these mistakes of what to avoid, and they're streamlining it to you, right? Coaching can come in the form of a book, someone that you read. Coaching can come in the form of a person. Coaching can come in one-on-one coaching, right? But get a coach, man. Like, I had a mindset coach, I had a business coach, I have a nutrition coach, I have a posing coach, right? Like, even though I'm a nutritionist and a trainer, I still have someone else tell me how to do it, right? Because they know best, right? And if you
Hmm.
no matter what you're doing, you should get a coach, right? And if you can't afford a coach, think about your goals. You know what I mean? Find a way to make one. Um, but when it comes to like general goals and everything, like in your life, right? Remember that when you commit to a goal and you complete it, you're now giving yourself permission to do that in every area of your life, right? So I set business goals monthly. I set goals for like website production. I set goals for my fitness. I set goals for my nutrition. I set goals for everything, right? Like, because otherwise, where are you going? Where's your direction? What are you doing, right? Um, you know, I think for me, that's like the big thing that's kept me sober is goal setting, right? I see a lot of people just kind of wandering through life and like, they're like, oh, I just drink on the weekends, or oh, I don't work out sometimes, or oh, I kind of do these things, and I'm like, cool. What's your end goal? And they're like, oh, I don't know. You know what I mean? Um, and finding that direction is really just going to matter, and thinking about that, right? Like, so if you don't have goals for the next 5 years, if you don't have goals for the next 10 years, if you don't have goals for the next 20 years, why not? My fitness goal for long term is I never want to be helped off the toilet when I'm old, right? So that's always a goal. Stay strong, stay active forever, right? I watched my coach compete this weekend. He is 54 and he swept the show on the pro side for bodybuilding. That's a goal of mine.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a goal of mine. I was like, all right, man. I want to be in my 50s still sweeping the show overall, right? Like, those are kind of goals I have now. Yeah, man. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
man. One of the goals that I have is to compete at the Arnold Amateur Strongman competition.
yeah, yeah. So what 2025? Am I gonna see you there?
I'm a ways off. It's actually so I don't know. Like that's actually my 5 year goal.
5 year goal. All right, cool, cool.
I'm not deadlifting or squatting anywhere near what people are in my weight class. Relative, if you look across competitions, because like I look
Mhm.
at results and like my deadlift would have to be at least in the 600s, and I haven't broken 500 yet.
Well, we got time
So
to go. We got time to go.
yeah, and like for all I give a shit, man, it'll be masters. I don't care. I'm in the like I'm not ever gonna stop. I just need to be able to readjust.
Yep.
So like if it's not in 5 years, I'll do it by the time I'm 50. I'll do it by the time I'm 60. I don't give a shit. I like one of the things that I prided myself as a distance swimmer is that I will outlast you. I was never the get up and go sprinter. I could not win a sprint to save my fucking life if I wanted to. But I will outlast you. And like that's just the way that I kind of live my life is like I'm not gonna get it right the first time. I've never done anything to the point where I've taken off the blocks, any business, any fitness, anything like that. My story shows that I've never managed to gain a lot of momentum out the gate. But tortoise in the hare, man. The tortoise always fucking wins. So I will just outlast you. I will do
Word.
this a lot. I will do this a lot longer and persevere through shit that you just refuse to persevere through. that's the kind of mindset that I have.
That's the way to do it, man. I think we're called on that, man. The tortoise is always going to win. If you've got goals, comment below with what they are. Quick shout out, if you want to learn how to be a strongman and to lift and to gain, go check out Greg's membership site. If you want some nutrition tips, feel free to check out Spy Fitness membership page. We do recipes every month. And that's about it, man.
That's it, man. Right on.